I was
I
like,
gotta ask, is that a Deftones headband or is that just
yeah,
corns? That's
no,
awesome.
the
The
dating
white
app pony.
pony.
Yeah, it's the white pony.
Awesome.
Yep. I got to get the vibe going. So, all right, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Scattercast, a podcast about what we're into at the moment, whether it's gaming and music and comic books and stuff like that. Right now, we're deep into role-playing games and trading card games. So recently, we actually started to play a game with the siblings. Me and Ray, we have our sister Jenise join us. So she's with us, and also Ray's here. So.
Hello.
What's up?
Me and Ray go way back with Dungeons and Dragons. You taught me. I don't know if we talked about this on the show.
Possibly, but I don't think
released.
it. Yeah.
But just a quick, rundown, just because we want to jump into what this episode's about. But you taught me real young. You probably learned what, 6th, 7th grade?
6th grade. So probably 90, 91.
91. So you had a friend that taught you. Then you taught me, but I didn't really get into it until later.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I think I would just play like one or like just kind of hang out with you guys, not really play. But it wasn't.
It was like me, you, and Aaron played like a little bit, and then, but it was mainly like me and Aaron, and then you probably introduced it to some of your friends or whatever a couple years later, and then got like even more into it.
It's funny because we were up north a couple of weeks ago, just a few of us, and I was talking with Dave, and we were talking about like the best times we had role playing, and he's like, yeah, he's like, your quest talking to me with Vampire was really good, and he's just like, still one of my favorites was playing with Ray in the camper when we first ever played, and I was like, oh wow, and he was like, you remember that? And he's like, yeah, he's like, that was awesome. It's like, I think cool. You ran one of your quests again. I think you did like the Beast or something again, or a quest that we did with you and just the crew that we normally play. But so we would play a lot for a few years, and then I started playing with my friends from high school, like so Dave and those guys, and we played up into early college through D&D and Vampire. And you kind of got out. You didn't play much after high school.
I didn't play. I still I was reading a lot of the Forgotten Realms books, so just like the novels, and in my early college years, because of my jobs, I had like a tad bit of disposable income, so I was still buying things here and there. So I would read like I spent most of my time reading like modules and like campaign books.
I'm laughing only because was that around the time when you were working at the ambulance company, and then you like loosely mentioned to somebody like, oh, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and then they showed up the next day with like a stack of books.
Yes
dude, what you're like, oh dude.
Yeah and then through
we played when it was not cool to play.
And then through an X, I actually, so this is the part that really sucks about the whole thing, is that, and I promise I'm not going to go in a big Ray tangent, but through an X of mine, I actually met a couple guys that were really into that kind of stuff. They were doing, not frick, god dang it, what, not GURPS, shoot, but they were doing like the, God dang it! I wish I could remember. Anyways, they were doing they did some pen and paper stuff, but they were really into Mech Warrior, like the models and shit. And so like I just got into that with those guys, and we were talking about playing like some pen and paper versions of kind of like Mech Warrior and stuff like that. And then I got hired and moved to Indiana.
Yeah,
so like that.
Remember. Yeah, you showed me the Mac Warrior, and that was me kind of getting, because I stopped DMing Vampire and Dungeons and Dragons. Everyone kind of blew up, went to college, and then the like half of the existing role playing group just started running a bunch together because we all ran in high school. Like that was like our fun, and then we kind of did some quests with Dave's in-laws before he was married to his wife.
Right.
Her family is a big family. We would play so we played a GURPS quest where it was kind of like, if Indiana Jones had like magic. So it's like that 1930s, 40s
Right.
kind of, Indiana Jones high adventure, but with like little magic kind of like, so it's like, instead of having straightforward magic, you had like luck and stuff like that. So we did that a couple times. That was fun. And then we started playing, I think it may have been 3rd edition. I don't know, whatever. Once Wizards of the Coast took it over and started doing like editions.
Right.
Or really concentrating on editions. It may have been 3rd or 4th that we learned and played for a little while, which is cool. But then I haven't played for over, I think I said it was like 20 years at least DMing. Oh, close.
I tried. Yeah, I tried.
So I haven't played in a long time, but sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I moved down there and I tried, and this is like not to disparage any, like we get it, like nerds be nerds and we do nerdy things, but I tried to, like, when I first moved down to Indiana, as part of a way to like make friends, I found a D&D group.
Yeah.
And that was when I learned really quickly that, like, yeah, we played D&D, but like we were still, like, I know it wasn't like necessarily the cool thing to do when we were kids, but we weren't like really awkward, like socially inept, I guess.
Well, we played,
like it was our friends, like, so it was like our,
like,
and we still skateboarded and like played sports and stuff like that. And I went and met this group, and this group was like hardcore, but like kind of borderline weird in a very awkward manner. Like it was like it wasn't comfortable. It was a very uncomfortable experience. And I was like, holy shit, I can't do that. And then I literally hung, like, just completely and totally said, like, I'm done. Like I hung that portion of my life up for
really bad experience.
Close to 7 years. It took almost 7, like, so that would have been what, 2004, late 2004 when that happened to me. And it was,
and that's kind of when I was too.
It was 2010, 2011 when I came home from work one day, and Amber was like, came up to me and like gave me an envelope, and I was like, what's this? And it was like money to go to Gen Con. She was like, I want you to go to Gen Con. I was like, awesome. Oh my God. And so I went down to Gen Con, and that was the first time I'd been to Gen Con. And I finally like did some pickup games there. But all that time, it was like I would buy more shit, more RPGs, more modules, more rule encyclopedias and stuff like that. And you and I like constantly kept trying to figure out, like, how can we make this happen? Like, we want to play like a role-playing game together so much. How can we make that happen? And it's like, oh, well, maybe when you're coming up to visit, I'll get like the boys together and we'll do it. And we just never
it never panned out, because it was like the drive to do it was always there. I think we never just like completed that circle. And I was doing the same thing. I would buy like these weird little games and then try to get into stuff, and then I sold all those books off because there was a couple of them.
Like I got like old school Wags. Remember that one? That like Wags, and I got like all kinds of shit that's still cool. We gotta try it out. But
and then in 2018, you told me about Kids on Bikes.
Yes,
that's what we started with, because they're like, dude, this is really cool. It's like a small system, and I never knew what it meant to have like a narrative driven game.
Yeah,
because Vampire was the closest to that, and that was still, there's a lot of rolling and doing stuff in that game. So you told me about it in 2018. I thought it was really cool, and I bought it last year at Gen Con from Renegade Studios. I think it's from a different company, actually, like makes it, and Renegade kind of prints it and does all their stuff. And it's cool because even the printing of it's different. It's printed on graphic novel size books.
Yes.
So it doesn't have the big, feel of like, oh my God, I gotta learn this huge system.
Well, it had that catch your attention. Like, look, this is like
a comic.
This is not like a big, thick, $50 hardcover encyclopedia of rules and lore and knowledge that you need to learn to play this game. It's like literally like, like you said, it's a graphic novel.
And it's
96
cool.
pages or whatever, and you learn it that
Mhm.
quick.
And it was weird for me because I come from I want all the stuff, and figure this out.
The box sets with all the
Yeah.
maps.
And then it's like this little thing. You're like, crap, how am I? And it's like, so it took me a little bit to learn. It's like, oh, this is all narrative. And then I bought a book, one of the things, we'll talk about it later, to help me on certain things because the book is so bare bones. You're like, well, how do I do suspense? How do I do some things that the players can do to make it fun? I need some examples, you know what I mean? Because it is so open-ended. But then, so everything with COVID started, went into lockdown, and all of us started communicating a bunch together. We would talk most of the time anyway. Like we talked to Jenise, text to Jenise at least once a month or once every couple of weeks. We'd chit chat. We'd see you at least. We'd see you and Zoe at least once a month. You know what I mean? Ray, we would always visit a couple times a year. So everything kind of changed. And writing the comic,
I never felt more loved when COVID-19 hit.
Yeah,
everybody was like, "Yo,
yeah, we're gonna hang out."
That's what we need to figure. Like, is this fucked?
Yeah. So that was
we need to worry.
How crazy it was. It took a pandemic to actually get a game started.
Yeah.
But it was like we had all this stuff because even in our house, we bought a bunch of games at Gen Con in 2019 and all this time that we were like, let's play it. Let's do this.
Yeah, this was supposed to be the year. Like,
yeah,
we're gonna get this shit going. And
the podcast was supposed to take off, and then we was like, screw it, let's throw it on YouTube, whatever. It's like, stop worrying about it. So I got the book. So when we were talking so the whole story goes, I made a joke about doing D&D with my friends on our Zoom meeting. It got turned into a comic for SideQuest. And there was always like truth behind it, like, haha, I'm joking, but I was like, that'd be really fucking fun, And then Jenise, you reached out to me and you were talking about doing game nights a couple times, different times. And then you said, hey, if you get something going, because me and Ray were trying to figure out how to do magic, and you're like, if you figure that out, let me know and we'll do something. And then I made the joke again, do you want to, let's just play something like Dungeons and Dragons? And you're like, cool. And I was just like,
finally
with me? Like, cool back. Like, and then I remember texting Ray, I was like, okay, Jenise is in to play. You just got to figure out a game. And then Ray's like, I got tons of systems. I'm like, well, let me see what I have. Because then we both got excited. And I think we both wanted to DM at the same time.
Oh, dude, I was like, I will make shit up. I will create a system to get this going.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's like the one upside to like, oh, no, sorry. It's the same. But that's like the one upside to the experience that we have is that it may not be perfect and flawless, but it was like, dude, and like worst case scenario, we could design a role-playing game and a rule system to anybody involved. I mean, if you want to do something on, like skateboarding or something like that, we can invent that. It's fine.
Well, so we batted it back and forth a little bit of like where I was talking to you, Jenise, about, do you want to do this? Are you serious? And me and Ray were talking about what game we should pick. And I knew we both had kids on bikes because I'm like, if both of us know it, it makes it for a better experience, And I was used to playing with my group of friends where there was like an adversarial tone with the DM versus the players. So,
right.
It's like, I might not know all the rules really quickly. And it's like, if you don't know them, people will be like, oh, well, whatever. You're making, you're lying, you know what I mean? So, plus we were kids when we played. So I wasn't really worried about that, but I wanted something that we both can do, or at least both knew what was going on. And it lended itself to you because you've never at all played anything like this. So what was kind of like, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons or anything?
No, not that I ever remember. Maybe when I was really young, I think you had a memory that maybe I had started one.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have any like memory of that or past knowledge. So I was like very new.
Okay. I think there was a time we made a character and did something at some point.
I think I remember actually seeing something in some like old boxes and
Jenise
and like character. Yeah, you had like a character sheet, and I was like, oh, that must have been something that you guys like started.
Yeah.
You must have started that, one night when Erica was over or something like that. Like, oh wow.
Yeah, it may have been.
Like
when
like,
mom was
oh,
babysitting.
yeah, like, well, I'm stuck here pseudo babysitting these two girls. I might as well
Or I bet you
have
it was
fun.
camping. I bet you we did it camping.
Oh yes, I bet
Yeah.
you're right. Yep.
Because D&D books and stuff was the thing, because we used to do character work all the time. It was just pretty much
Oh,
like
yeah.
drawing things and making maps. It was like nothing really. But that
Right.
was like the staple of everything, is bringing crap around, like we're going to Uncle Jack's house for Christmas. And we show up with a bunch of
It's
Dungeons
funny you
and
say that
Dragons
about
stuff.
a character work, because I'm telling you right now, we just got done mentioning the fact that I learned, or not learned, but I discovered
Shit.
Dungeons and Dragons, which would have been like my very first RPG
Mhm.
in like 90, 91. And I'm telling you right now, if you go 9091 to 2020, probably 85% of my role playing existence has been either character work
Yeah.
or reading modules and campaigns and stuff like that, and not actually.
And mine was the opposite, where I had all those books and I wouldn't read them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I would
Yeah,
want.
I've played very little. That's why I was excited that you were going to run Kids on Bikes, because I was like, what little bit of playing we actually did, I was always the game master or dungeon master.
Yeah,
I never really got to play any of these games.
Yeah, that's why I felt bad when I was talking to my buddy Dave. And I didn't mean it this way, but I was just like, yeah, I learned a lot from when we played as kids in high school to do and don't do now. Because I was like, I remember after our first session, I was like, did I railroad you guys? Because when you don't play a lot, you forget what it's like to be a character. And if they don't do the story, you get like, you forced them into it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, because you're trying to have your own fun too. And that's what was cool about Kids on Bikes, is because, oh wait, hang on. So you force them into it. So, and I felt bad because it made my buddy go, yeah, I wish I would have DM'd more for you. And I go, oh no, it wasn't that kind of comment. I just meant like, we're all kids. Like, we're in our teens, you know what I mean, doing the stuff. I go, it wasn't meant to be like, yeah, you should have done that. And I'm like, and I knew what his upbringing was. He had to hide the fact that he played Dungeons and Dragons. So like, yeah, there's no way you had the time to make us. I go, well, there were 6 of us. Other people could have did things, you know what I mean? But no, and I loved playing with those guys in that group. But it was cool to do it again with you guys, completely fresh. You know what I mean? There is no, expectations and stuff.
Well, it taught us how easy this is too. Like, this is something that we experimented with, and we got Jenise on board, which is awesome. But like, I'm just jacked because I'm like, dude, pandemic or no pandemic, I'm like, we finally have the avenue that we've been looking for. I mean, you and I were at your security job, one night driving around, just hanging out. And you were talking about like wanting to create a role-playing game with like, like either skateboarding or firefighting and like how we could do that and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, now we can do that. We can like be creative and make our own modules or rule sets and stuff like that, and actually play test it and have the audience or the avenue to do it. And that's what's been exciting for me.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm totally pumped that Jenise is on board.
Yeah,
because I'm like, dude, that like, this is like the first thing that we've had since we were kids. It brought all 3 of us together on like a regular basis, not just like, oh, hey, we're up for like Christmas visiting and stuff like that.
We played 5 sessions, so 5 weeks, took a week off. This is the 6th, kind of 7th week. And we're gonna do a couple more weeks off, and we're gonna do season 2 of Kids on Bikes. You don't really grow with it like a normal RPG, so you kind of just do it as like one-offs. But I like the idea of how we kind of broke it up. We can talk about that later. But Jenise, the thing that we picked out for you specifically was the setting. Like, we didn't think you would be into swords and weird shit at first, because it was like teaching people a game. You have to like, I always talk about it with Dana with Carcassonne. We had such a shitty experience with Munchkin. So when I explain games to people, I'm like, I try to just bring it down to like a simple, like what they're into. I didn't use like knight and thief. I was just like, this character does this, and then explain them the rule set, and then you use all that terminology. So that's like with Kids on Bikes, it was like takes place in the 80s. We all grew up in the 80s. It takes place during this. So it's like, was that kind of, do you think it was better to do that, or do you not really care?
No, I like that. When you first sent me like the character worksheet, like I was really channeling like Stranger Things. Like I was pulling from that, like how that environment was and how the kids were. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can get into this. Like I don't think like the swords and things like that would really, I mean, it would be interesting and cool, but I don't know if I could know that
like
kind
you
of
might
stuff
be
to like pull from.
mm-hmm.
Because I had this little piece that I could like understand and then kind of build from that. Because at least I knew like the setting.
Because now you
like,
could probably play a game that had swords and things,
right?
Because you got that foundation of like, cool.
I'm like, okay, I can pick like, oh, I get to pick a name, and like, I have this a little bit of knowledge.
Even if you don't remember making that character when we were kids, because none of us we like remember it, but we don't. It's like you're an adult now, so it's like, okay, this is all the stuff I get to do. I get to make this. It's different.
Yeah.
A lot of media, even television shows that do it well, still miss a lot of like the points of Dungeons and Dragons and role playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Tacoma FD is a really great firefighting show, and they do an episode about being bored. Firefighters are all bored and they're playing D&D, and they did a lot of stuff for humor, which was cool. It's actually a really decent episode that explains kind of Dungeons and Dragons, but they do stuff that's not real. You know, and that was like Ray's experience. What he was talking about is he actually ran into people that would fit in that category of what someone would write a bunch of D&D nerds as being. You know, where it's just like, oh, you guys don't care about
nerd or
Well, I think
D&D player.
I think the experience too is like the typical. It's kind of like the whole chicken and egg concept, I guess. Like which came first, the chicken or egg? Because I think back, like, you know, talking about what Jenise just said about how, like, you know, I can relate, you know, and name this character, and you know, you're kind of like an 80s, 90s-ish kid, even if you don't really identify with that. You were brought up by people that were very heavily influenced by the 80s and 90s, and you know, like kids kind of, not kids in danger, but like we just kind of had a little bit more free roam than kids have now. We can say that. But I go back to like my own experiences, and it's like I don't know how the whole sword and sorcery thing even started with me. It's like, in 91 in 6th grade, it was like I gravitated towards Dungeons and Dragons, but it's like, when did that start? I do know that when I was in like 1st or 2nd grade, I think it was like in Stadium, in like the pit, where outside the library, if you remember Stadium, the pit.
The snake pit.
I freaking saw Neverending Story in there. And so it's like one of those things that's like, oh, well, is that kind of how I grew up? Like I like Neverending Story is not Dungeons and Dragons, but it is kind of like, you know, the Sphinxes, the, you know, the sword and sorcery, you know, and stuff like that. But something kind of, you have to have something to identify to and gravitate towards. And I don't know how I ended up gravitating towards, you know, and then eventually you did, gravitating towards the Dungeons and Dragons aspects of it. But hopefully that does kind of interest Jenise a little teeny bit, because we can introduce and have a few more options available to us in the future.
No, that was awesome, Ray. Everything that you said about having it be like a positive thing for all. Speaking of myself, with everything going on, it definitely has been a big, my anxiety, OCD brain. It's like, you can tell, like just everything with the podcast and everything we were doing, like it's very game focused right now. You know what I mean? It's very, like, the whole idea of this was just what we're into, what we're doing. So it's cool. It's a very card game. Like me and Ray were talking about Magic early on in the pandemic. We started doing this role-playing game. We've bought a couple more systems. I told Ray about, you know, Kids on Brooms is coming up, and like it's been definitely a positive outlet to send energy. Has it been that for you, having something to look forward to every week, or what is it kind of your experience been with it?
You're looking at me, right?
Yeah, Jenise.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's been great. I like having, like you said, that like chiseled out time where we can come and not look at the news and not do that stuff and kind of have these new ways of doing things that, like Ray said, like now we have this ability to do it, which is strange. Like we probably always had this ability to do it, but now like something has pushed us to do it. So it's like,
yeah, we're
I've
never
liked
forced
that.
into it.
Right. So I've liked having this.
Cool. So like when you said yes, it was pretty much like screw it, like let's roll a dice, no pun intended, but like see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think always, even like as a kid, I wanted to try it, and maybe that was a little bit of just little sister wanting to join in, but like I was excited. Like I think you were talking about game stuff, and there was that like you don't know Jack, I think has like a thing, and I was talking about that, and you had mentioned this, and I'm like, oh yeah, for sure, like I'll do that. So it was exciting.
Cool.
So
it's a perfect, like I'm glad that we worked on it, and I'm glad that like me and Ray didn't just jump into the first thing, because like me and him were definitely, not speaking for you, Ray, because you can answer this, like Dungeons and Dragons was the first thing, you know. And it's weird because as much as like I like D&D, I don't have the inspiration to make Dungeons and Dragons quests.
Right.
It wasn't until I found Vampire and Shadowrun that I realized, I'm like, oh no, this is my wheelhouse of creating story. Like Kids on Bikes is more for me. Not that you can't do a quest by all means, but like I like fantasy worlds. I just replayed it so much and did so many quests. It's like I almost need to like find something to like re-spark that. So I'm glad that we picked something that was like more tailored to like you, Jenise, and me, and you know, and everybody. Like kind of thought about everyone's feelings going into it, like you know what we wanted to do, especially having like a simple system. What were you to say, Ray?
No, I was gonna say I don't. If we can circle back just for a split second to the to bookend what Jenise was saying about like the not like being excited because oh yeah I don't have to look at the news and stuff like that, is that I had the perfect way to explain this a second ago. So for me, this experience has been a little bit like almost the opposite. So like with Jenise, you're like, oh, I could take this like opportunity and then jump into this thing that I haven't done before. And for me, it's like I was totally jacked about being able to do this with you guys because of the fact that even though I haven't been able to like do like pen and paper role playing and stuff like that, I've actually picked up quite a few other things that I've been able to do, you know, with like things like Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. And so when this pandemic happened for me, it was like this is the thing that keeps me somewhat sane. This is the thing that like when I come home and I'm like freaked out about shit and I've got like family members calling me and stuff like that, and I'm like I'm trying to keep them cool, but at the same time like I'm like we did like a talk about this, me and you, Travis, about like when we kind of did our like we tried to do like our top 5 things that we were into.
When we first started
we were talking about and we were talking about like it took a while to get to that to that point, because in the very beginning of all this it was like there was just like no kind of hope, no future, no nothing, and it was like we just kind of lost that, you know, happiness in like anything that we were doing. But sorry, circling back to that though, is that I was so thankful for this opportunity to be able to do this with you guys, because not only is this something that I've wanted to start to do, which is like try to figure out how we could do like role-playing games together and stuff like that, but also it's been an outlet because the few things that I've been able to do, things like playing Memoir 44, playing Magic the Gathering with friends of mine in the Magic community, being able to do some of these things, that's all gone also. So it's like as all that disappeared, all of a sudden this thing that I've wanted to do for almost a decade manifests itself, and it's like, oh sweet, I could do this now. So it's just been kind of cool.
And like no, it's been totally, because that's how I felt. And
because all those things I just mentioned are because when I got down here I lost the ability to do the role-playing games, play D&D, try to explore any kind of new system. And so it's like, well, I guess I can do Magic because I can show up at a game store on Friday nights and I know there's people there to play with.
Exactly. Yeah,
With Dungeons and Dragons and everything else, Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, all those other things we mentioned in the past. It's like you have to seek out and find like-minded people to do that.
You need to really cultivate a group, and they need to be people that you want to play with and be friends with. You know what I mean? Or
right, because even though we're doing this over, Zoom and whatever, it's like most people play this game like in their own homes and stuff like that, and it's a big time commitment. And so to just invite randos over to your house, that that's an undertaking. And not maybe for this show, but I've got some stories about what happens when you just have randos that show up at your house to play Magic the Gathering. Shit gets weird.
Real quick to get back to you, Jenise, it's like how you said, like, oh yeah, that part of me like wanted to be a little sister and join along. And it's like when I was making this, I kept telling Dana, I'm like, I just feel so bad. I'm like, I feel like such a shitty brother that we didn't do this sooner. We didn't, why didn't we do this when we were kids? But it's sort of like the Step Brothers movie where it's like, yeah, we didn't have it with them, but we have it now. Like it's sort of like, with the night vision, and it's sort of like every step of the way.
Don't think we ever thought about it.
Was like, yeah, we just never thought, and it's like, and we probably did at some point something, but like, it's sort of like blaming myself for being thinking I was like a bad DM. It's like we were kids, we were young.
But, and I'm sure I was like annoying. Like, would I have played if given the opportunity, or would I have been like annoying? So it's like hard.
Well, then that's what I was thinking. I always say this at work with certain things, because I was like, I used to beat up myself. You beat up yourself about certain things you did in the past. You know what I mean? So it's like every step of the way planning this for us, it was like a new surprise, because I was like, oh, Jenise said, cool. Okay, check that box. Okay, Ray's now into it. Okay, check that box. Okay. Now we're talking about what game we want to play. Okay, we have a game, and it was like and we were slowly like picking up like momentum, and it was really cool. And I was talking to Dana, and I was just like, man, I wish we would have done this. But I'm a firm believer in like, you do it when it's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Like you said, like maybe we would have done it as kids, and then we wouldn't have wanted to do it now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like I always talk about it like with skateboarding, like. One of the things was like, man, I wish I would have been the filmer. You know what I mean? Like Ray did really good tricks. I was a good skateboarder, like just pushing and riding. I couldn't do any tricks. Why didn't I film? I could have been a really good filmer, and I ended up getting in the video later, but I'm like, well, I wasn't supposed to. You know what I mean? Like you can always go down those avenues. It's like, or making comics. Like I got into it later because that's when I was ready to do it. And I feel like with the pandemic and all this stuff, it was like all these things were just like, no, we're finally ready to do this. There's nothing stopping us. There's no, oh, I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm doing a million different projects. And now it's like, I want to distract myself. I want to hang out with my family, and I want to do something once a week with you guys. Like,
I think there's a lot of people out there and like, I want to learn a new language. Well, now's the time.
Right.
And think about it this way. When we first went into the lockdown, we would talk. Me and Jenise would talk every day. Me and you and Ray would talk. We would all talk every day to each other, at least in some capacity.
Yeah, we did.
Then we would do weekly Zoom meetings, or we would do house party with Jenise and stuff like that. And then that started to slow down as things started to get opened up. But we still stayed in contact. So if we just did still weekly meetings of just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're doing the same shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is like a cool way to like connect. So it's like we have 20 minutes of like anything new that happened. Like my air conditioner broke because an earwig went into it. Like Ray's having air conditioner problems. You just had a birthday for your daughter. So it's like we kind of have that, but then we have a game to play. We have something to do.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of encourage people, whoever, to just like find a game, do it. You know what I mean? Because it's super fun, even in those aspects. And I think it's something that we will continue to do. Because like off camera stuff of like me and Ray talking, like, no, it'd be awesome to go to Gen Con with everybody, get a big group of us to go and do more stuff together. You know what I mean? But Jenise, just tell me, do you remember the first time we played? It was a few weeks ago. What was kind of going through your head? Because it was really cool because you were very into Kids on Bikes is very collaborative, like in the role playing and how we did it, but also in the world setting. So you guys each came up with rumors. Jenise, you sent me like 5. Ray did about the same. Like we ended up using at least 2 of them in the game. Most of them are in the backstory. one of each of yours became a pivotal point. Ray was with Sally Smith going missing. Jenise, yours was with the camp. We ended up in the camp. Sally ended up being a major character in the story and other things. But what was like your first, like, when we're sitting down ready to play, were you nervous about things? Were you excited, or was it just like, whatever, I don't know what's going to happen? Or what was like kind of going through your head?
I was really excited. I think working on like the character sheet, I'm like, oh, I can do this. Like, think of rumors, think of what her bike is. Like, I felt like, all right, I got it. And then I remember when we started it, and then you like kind of set it up or whatever the discussion was, and then you're like, okay, now you guys can have a dialogue. And I'm like, I didn't know that this was
yeah.
You did what
I thought it was
everyone
just
does.
strictly rolling dice the whole time. Like, I didn't realize that we like kind of propel our characters, and like we kind of give them like what they're gonna do, not just like rolling dice. Like, we get them to that point.
Oh, so it was like a complete like.
Yeah, I'm like,
blindsided.
oh, I did it. And then Ray's like talking, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like not prepared. I like didn't know how to just like close my computer.
So
I was a little shocked. I'm like, okay. I had to like get my bearings back and like.
All right, so let me start over then. Okay, so introduce myself to Claire. So I'm Mike's friend, Alex. We did a paper route together, and he stuck this note in my locker. I haven't seen him, which is weird. I should have seen him already, and I'm having a problem deciphering what this note's supposed to mean because it's only got one page. Mrs. Ulrich took the other page, and now I don't know what's going on. But I know this much is that he said I was supposed to meet you here. Pretty good.
Yeah, perfect.
I'll get better.
You guys are better.
I'm so fucking bad at playing games. I'm like so much better at running them.
I know it's weird. That is hilarious because
this out.
You've done what everybody does, because when we would play with our group, the same thing. If you're talking out of character, you're like, oh, and I do this, and I do this, and blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as I start like playing an NPC or doing something, it's like, oh, okay, I guess I go. Like, because I think most people like metagaming is easier than actual in-gaming, but we don't. I'll do like a little bit inflection when we play, like beast things, but like some people take it to the extreme. We're kind of like in the middle somewhere with our role playing. But yeah, I could tell that you were thrown off by that. I didn't realize that you had no, like, we didn't know prepared you for that. And it's like a very
because you were like, okay, so you're out like, like
in the middle of the grass,
the spot in the grass between the two schools and stuff, and then
and now go
just meet each other. So what are you guys gonna talk about?
What do you do?
Action.
And I did. I totally saw like Janice's face just be like
a deer in headlights.
Oh wait, holy shit! Like I don't roll a die, and
I got all my dice ready. What do I do? Yeah.
So
because that's and what me and Ray.
I tried to carry it. So
you did a good job.
What me and Ray did when we were talking about what game to play, we figured, I'm like, well, there's two aspects of role playing. One is talking and role playing your character, and the other one's rolling. Kids on Bikes doesn't do a lot of rolling, but it's more talking heavy. Yeah. So it was cool. Like, it hit all those really good introduction things, but like, yeah, not knowing that it's very like conversational and stuff like that. And you're a little, but I think we worked on it pretty quick. But
well, I like
at the end of that session. Did you kind of get the grasp of like what we were going for?
Yeah, because then once like I think I felt like really wobbly at first. Like I'm like, oh, do we just talk like this the whole time? But then like I think Ray would help me by he would talk as his character and then kind of like talk as himself. And I'm like, okay, kind of can be both. Like it's not like
I would blend
and only be the character. Like we could kind of talk and like think out loud. And I felt like I could kind of dip into both. Like I could dip
especially
into the character and then like talk with Ray. So.
Yeah, especially in instances where I was like, now are you telling me that or are you talking to me? Like, which is I think with this it's weird because like when we're all in a room together we might lose that because I don't see I see your faces more.
Right.
You know, when we're in a group, because that was like a concept battle in my group. Was like, is that what you're going to tell the guy? Like the king's asking for your help and you're going to be like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, because we're all like little shithead kids. But like, yeah, it's a lot easier to be like control what was going on, what you guys were saying. Just like, plan certain things out. Like when you had to get the layaway stuff, and it was just like, you guys know, like describing to
Right.
you guys, this is what the task is. You know, this person's probably not going to want to just reveal his information. So how are you going to go into it? But Ray, you looked like you were going to say something.
No, I was just gonna say no. That's good though that you got the hang of it, and you know that didn't put you off, because in my experience, there might be a system out there that kind of blends the two together very well, but it's like as far as what I've played in the past, it's like I played Kids on Bikes now, which, like you said, that's pretty much like kind of more like role playing, telling you what we're doing, what we want to do, kind of just like what the plan is, that kind of thing. And then a handful of times here and there's some dice rolls to see if that happens. And then there's the opposite end of that, which is like the complete and total, like just stats. Everything is stats and rules. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this because it's gonna give me like a +3 chance in case I'm like in this situation. And you have to like think of like these just mind-boggling numbers of things, and everything revolves around like dice rolls and min-maxing your character and everything, and being like, oh, I'm gonna do this because it gives me like 4% more chance in this area if I'm like, you know, attacking with one hand instead of, you know, two-handed or whatever. And that would have been like way too much for you. So even though like kind of getting into the flow of things might have been difficult at the beginning, it's so much better than having the opposite, which is this game system is rules and stats intensive, and then kind of like the backstory and the role playing is secondary.
Yeah. So I hope that in the season 2 with Kids on Bikes, I get more, like it might change in the sense that there might be more strict things.
Right, because that's what I wanted. I wanted stats.
Yeah, because you were like, okay, like,
I'm craving for some stats and some rules.
There was some stuff that I kind of fudged a little bit just for story, but I don't think it hurt anything. But it was definitely like that's why I bought that.
No, dude, that was like,
I wanted more like combat. Like, tell me, like, once I gave you guys the power character that opened everything up, I think it was cool not having him show up for a while. I think it was bad to just, it's cool storytelling at the end, because it's like I kind of did it like a show. Like this last episode, you guys got this crazy person that can shoot lightning and move shit with his mind.
Right.
But like throughout the game, like Ray got into a fight. You couldn't do a lot of physical stuff.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. So yeah, I like, this is no offense to what I thought your capabilities might be, but to put it this way, I was absolutely blown away by how you DM that and how everything flowed the whole entire time.
Oh, thank you.
Because there was very few times that I can think of that you like got tripped up or didn't. It just fucking blew my mind, like every step of the way, where like something would happen and you're like, okay, well, da da da. So you go here and then you find this like jacket with a cigarette burn on it, and I'm like, dude, he has like there's no way he can know all the decisions that we're gonna make ahead of time. So the fact that you like came up with some stuff, like you told us after the fact, like I had no idea you were gonna fight that fucking guy. Like completely do that out of the blue, because you were like, there was like 100 things that you could have picked. That was the 101st thing that you picked to do, was fight that guy.
The first quest was cool because it was like introduced everything. Me and Jenise had the same, I think, anxiety kind of going in, because like I was just like not talking shit in like a shit talking way, but like, yeah, we're gonna play. And as soon as I was there, it was like I was the same way with you, Jenise. Okay, and then like I think it took me a while to kind of get into a flow.
Speech class. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, where I was like, this is what we're doing. So like that first session was good. I was super inspired by it. The second session was great. That was the house session, and that's kind of like what you're talking about. Like I opened it up a little bit to where I could have, and I think I went into every session going, what can Jenise do and what can Ray do? Make it fun. You know, and that's not something I would do when I was a kid. I wouldn't didn't think to be like, you have a character for a reason, let them play their character.
Right.
So I had like, Jenise is going to do her charm on this, and like could kind of give you guys things to play with, and you guys would help me, because there's stuff that like the Sally Smith, she was never written in my story until Ray, and then it was like things happen. I was like, well, she's going to be an integral part now, you know what I mean? Or like having it at the camp. So there was things that were never, and I'm not giving too much away from season 2, because I told you guys this after the fact, like after we played. So like the whole basic premise was to get you guys in the game was this: your mutual friend was missing, you guys were looking for him, and having this other character missing too added some more mystery and subterfuge if I needed to like obscure shit or get you guys on the right path. And I think that the graveyard, even though I put so much time into that map, I think that was my biggest stumble, because there was too much options and too much going on. And that was the fight where Ray fought. I mean, it was cool stuff came out of it. Like,
yeah.
But like you, Jenise, you and the Max character, which I didn't even know you guys were going to pick her up as like a party member, which is cool. You guys went off. Ray fought that dude. I'm like, all right, you're going to fight a grown man? Sweet. He did that. Then Max ended up taking off and did the rest of the quest. And then I had to figure out, like, where do you guys go? And I'm just like, well, shit, where would she go? She would go back to the house. So that whole house thing, it was just like trying to have options to like keep the story going of like, yeah, that makes sense that she would go back to this house because that's where her and Mike would meet up. That's where she would expect you guys to meet her,
Yep.
So it was like a weird, like it fumbled, but then it fit. In the last session, the Friday session, in the game Friday, was really cool. But it set everything up for the last game, and the last game was awesome.
Yeah.
You guys getting the power character, finding Mike, and then being able to. I didn't realize at the time, like, oh, this is what Ray's been waiting for too. You know what I mean? To be like, I can hit things now. I can move things. I can action up some stuff,
Right.
So speaking of like earlier, we were talking about like we've been buying other games and other systems. We do eventually want to move beyond Kids on Bikes. Not that it isn't a great system, because it has a lot to offer, but I think it's definitely something that like you play in short bursts, Kids on Brooms seems really intense. Like, oh, you got it? Oh,
No, this is blood and chocolate. So
Oh,
this
Blood
is
and
like
Chocolate.
this is like a
I got Quest.
if Charlie in a Chocolate Factory wasn't already like an acid
It was
like
crazy
fever dream, this is like an even like more robust version of it. So,
but like Root and some stuff, and
Yeah.
like even Ray's been picking at D&D. I got the quick start guide for.
but there is like I know we talked about like back, like Jenise is like, like, well, I don't know about like but there is something to the core of like where they brought D&D back to, which is kind of like basics, which I think you could, Jenise, you could read some of like the basic rules, like not even rule, but this like backstory, and you can, oh yeah, I could come up with like a character that I can identify with, because it's not all just like swords.
And that's the
Right.
cool thing about it. Like, yeah,
like, yeah,
I don't think it's not that you're not like ready for D&D. It's just like, I don't want to bore. We don't want to bore you. You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah.
So it's like,
We got to get you like into a couple other things before
Yeah.
we go.
and it's going to be hard. We might actually have to do a different service than Zoom, because battling and stuff like that's different. There's like a grid and stuff like
Well,
that.
I'm gonna start doing more research on some of the
Ray's gonna
options
take
that
that
are
up.
out there.
So what do you think, Jenise? Is this something that you want to pursue and keep doing, or is it just like, no, I'm done, like this is fun?
No, I like it. I think like that, talking about the first night, how it kind of threw me off
Good
guard.
answer.
Like not
You're on
like
wax.
it did, but it wasn't like a bad thing. Like I remember telling Josh like about him. Like I had no idea that
Right.
like how it was. So
Oh,
then
wow.
coming to the next meeting or the next week, I'm like, I really need to like visualize it, and that I think was the house. So I'm like,
Okay.
was really
That's
trying
pretty
to
cool
like
to see
picture
that
it in
through
my
that.
head
Yeah.
and like write it down and things like that. So it was like something I didn't expect, but it was like a pleasant
It was a plus.
surprise.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What was the highlight? If there was like one thing Like if someone like it's the same mom was just like, oh, I heard you playing the game, you know, because we'll go over to mom and dad's house and do like social distance like dinners with them and stuff like that, and I'll be like, oh, we're playing and stuff like that, we're raging, it's really fun, you know, it's really cool. I think I told them like the same story like 5 times. But what was like a highlight for you? And then Ray, I'll have you answer the same question. What was like a highlight for you that was like when the memories of each individual day fade away, but the one thing that you'll take from it that you'll primarily remember?
I really liked, I can't remember what day it was, but we could like collaborate. Like we were trying to think of a plan like for our characters, and we kind of stepped out of the game, and like both Ray and I kind of worked through. I don't know if
that
it was
when I
like
left, I went to grab something and you guys stayed on and kind of talked?
It might have been, yeah. And we kind of like stepped in our characters to figure out like what they would do and like how to plan that. And I like that, like working together. And then thinking of our Halloween costumes. I thought that was fun. Like
cool.
trying
the
to
whole
get
Halloween, came, like the house came together really good, and the Halloween card, like with you guys.
Yeah.
Because I had wrote in there that Max was gonna fail at getting a car just to create some sort of drama for you guys, and then I just wrote like she's an older kid that would do like not mean things, but like you guys are younger, and just the whole idea of like let's steal a car. So I just had a couple options, like they could steal a car, they could ride their bikes, and this is what this scenario would be if they ride their bikes. They might roll differently because you're going to be tired or something like that.
Oh,
and then when you were like, we steal the car, I was like, that's awesome. So Ray, what about you? What was your kind of?
Kind of a I got 2. That's so the first one, like I said a minute ago, was just like plain and simply the fact that without knowing as the player after the fact, like hearing about like some of the things that just like you kind of like merged into the story, like me just deciding like, fuck it, I'm fighting this dude, and you're like, oh shit, this is happening. Okay. Yeah. I gotta like as the DM, you had to almost role play it out because you're like, that wasn't in the script of things that could happen. Max becoming a actual like part of the party. Like,
yeah, that's cool.
It was just supposed to be like, she was just supposed to be like a true NPC, and it was like she became like a full-fledged part of the party.
She wasn't rolled up until the second time, because I knew you said something about her, and I was like, I better make her a character because we're gonna go back and try to find her,
right?
Which is cool. It helped you guys out.
Yeah, but I can't like totally put my finger on it in a cohesive manner, but for me personally, like just visually, like attention grabbing or whatever, as far as like the whole story element. And I'm not saying that like this is the best element of the whole story, but like for whatever reason, the highlight for me was the like house under construction with Aaron like fucking with us and everything, and we were going all through that house, and then like Max met us outside and we had to like get away. Like for whatever reason, like that one, I could like in my mind, like I could like close my eyes and like picture that happening. You know, like, you know, pieces of plastic, whatever, like down, and like
going through the
around in this house that we shouldn't be in. And it's like right now it's like kind of like a dark, somewhat muggy night, and I like just like I think about like when we used to like go with Tony over to Perry Drugs, and like like, hey, get back. I just told that story, the bowling ball story. But no, I just like, I love that part of the whole thing. And even though that wasn't like a pivotal part of the story or like anything, it was just like, for whatever reason, like I just remember that night, that particular instance, like night number 1 was kind of like ice breaking, whatever. And then like that night it was like, holy shit, like that was the night that like grabbed me into the story, pulled me in, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
And that was for me as a DM, remembering like, oh, I like doing this and I want to create stuff. Like, so I remember going to bed either the first or the second night, and it was just like, let them have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just purely, I mean, it still have rules. I mean, there is a point when it's just ridiculous. If I was just like, you can fly now, you know what I mean? But like, don't create things that they can't get out of. You know what I mean? The house situation was really cool because I made the house, laid it all out, and then it was like I knew if you were down in one area, then Aaron has to be in another area. And I would roll for him for his sneak ability, because if he failed, it was just you guys. I knew you could never catch him because he would always be at a different spot.
Yeah.
Based on where you guys started, only where you guys started. And then, so there was 2 points of mystery with him, was in the basement, and I kind of figured out how to get around that. And then as long as you didn't pick the first room where he was in and entered there, but I always had the card to get out with Max, because as the DM, I know what he did. You guys didn't know that he called the cops and was messing with you. He was going to leave. So, and I always knew that Max was going to help you out to save you. But if you went into that room with Aaron, you probably would have fought or moved, and then Max was going to come in, and then the cops and Aaron would have probably fled because everyone was going to run from the cops. You know what I mean? So it was like having those options where before DMing, I would have been like, no, this is what happens, and who cares what they pick? I'm just going to move him around. You know what I mean? And it's like, so kind of getting that confidence of like, no, like you can fail as a DM and like put the guy in the wrong spot. Just think about that beforehand before the people show up.
Yep.
You know, and then you guys making decisions that kind of mold. And I think there's some stuff from this game that I'll like put into other games, like the whole idea of like, yeah, like let the players have input in the world. Maybe not do rumors, but just the whole idea of like, you know, your decisions can now mold what's going on and not be so beholden to the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For real.
Because you'll still eventually get to those points. Because I had it worked out with Nancy that if you guys would have talked to her first, like she was going to be like, why does people keep sending me? Because her mind frame is people keep writing these horrible notes about her missing sister. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I'm glad you never did, because it would have been harder for you to be like, now go back to her. Now you have all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It still would have been there.
Yeah.
It's what I had to make it like a different way to like get to that point. So you guys excited for the second part?
Hell yeah.
I am, yeah.
Cool. I hope I don't do the classic sequel and just fuck it all up and ruin it. Because now there's like
it's been fun.
There's always there's always Halloween 3. You can just completely change the story.
Yeah. Well, I already told you guys that like we'll do some character work. You guys can switch some stuff. We got some new character ideas for some people in the world. I just want to flesh out some like I want some quests. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the whole first season was the whole season was a quest. I want to put like little mini quests and have little things to do, and make it more like an adventure series. Kids on Brooms sounds fun as shit, and I like how it like explores growing. I think that's one of the things that would be cool for you too, Jenise, because you never had experience like a character that's like you care about Claire, you care about role playing for her, but like it's just like, oh, this is what I bring to play. You know what I mean? Where in other games it's like, oh no, I can like add things to this and I can grow and I can train them, and you start to become, because you invest all this time, so you don't want them to die, you don't want things to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the Kids on Brooms is like that. Like you can kind of build your character.
Yeah, you can. It adds a little bit more to the world, so it's like you can start like specializing in like different types of magic and stuff like that, and make your roles a little bit better. So I don't know if I want to jump right back. I don't know if I want to jump into that one, do like season 2 of Kids on Bikes and be like, okay, now we're doing Kids on Brooms. I think that'd be too much kids
too
stuff.
similar. Yeah.
But but it sucks because like doing creative things, I need to stop reading and doing stuff on Kids on Brooms, because I read that before we left and then I was instantly hooked. and instantly like, this is where the setting's going to be. This is awesome. I was already thinking of like cool things to do. And like, they're like, you don't even have to have a wand. You can do whatever, just have materials. Like, ooh, like if Ray wants to make like a magic user that he uses like cards, like has like 5 cards or something like that. And I was like thinking of games they could Decker or like a traditional magician, you know what I mean? Like different things. And I was like, stop. You're gonna you need to focus back on. So I might actually go watch season 3 of Kids on or Stranger Things to get back into that like
yeah
vibe.
Oh, for real.
Because I'm like right in Harry Potter land with this and like magic and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh no, don't like stick, like I'll
slow down.
Yeah.
Right.
In like even that car game that me and Ray bought, like I was like looking up cars and stuff like that. I was like, no, hell down. Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
Speaking of that game, if you want classic cars, it's in the blister pack with like multiple cars. Like the 5 one, the 4 or 5 one. It's like $5.
Right.
That's where you can get like a
Oh dude, believe me. I'm all excited about it. It serves 2 purposes. I can get new cars for the boy and for the dad.
I know, I just go to lie to people like, "This is for my kid." We've never seen you as a child.
I've been like looking at the car aisle and the GI Joe aisle because I'm like, oh, I can buy
guns,
like, guns and like retrofit this shit.
So real quick, just to do like a quick wrap up, I think is there anything else that anybody wants to mention about the game real quick that you were kind of wanting to talk about that we didn't touch on?
No.
No. I don't want to talk.
That's not the way I meant it. I just meant like I can't. That's not the way that was meant to sound.
That was fun. That was hilarious. Jenise, anything else that you were thinking of, like that you wanted to like say that we kind of didn't talk about?
I think we had touched on it just right before that, of things that like you kind of not change, but that happened that you weren't expecting. And I think just not knowing about this, like I don't know the things that usually are known or not known, or how much of this is something that you made or like from the book. So I think that's cool to find out, like how Ray and I and you too like changed the story or how characters became. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool because you guys get to choose so much agency over like what they did in the world that you're in, you know?
Yeah. So I never knew any of that. Like I thought it would just be like a book and you're reading like the script and like this is how it's played. So it's cool to like hear these things that like maybe you didn't expect to happen, but like we're prepared for, and so that's fun. I like that.
And that's like the best part of role playing. I think that's the best. All of the memories that I have playing is the stuff that goes wrong, but in like a right way. You know what I mean? That like you choose a different path because then everybody's kind of like thinking on their feet. And I feel like
within reason, without your asshole friend being like, "I'm gonna do this."
Yeah.
Like,
oh, dude, we've
screwing the whole adventure up.
Yeah, I've had a whole adventure get thrown out. I've had many adventures get thrown out. Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm glad that it's us doing this, and not saying that no one will ever come into this group, but it's like I feel like this group is very sacred. And it's like
but we're not going to be fucking stupid about shit.
Well, yeah, but if someone was going to come in, it'd be like someone that we're like, no, this person's cool.
A lot of trust.
Yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of groups end up suffering from like 2 people or more like teaming up no matter what. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what I was saying earlier on, like an adversarial relationship between the players and the DM. It's nice to have like everyone playing together, and I think that's just a thing of age too. And the whole idea that you don't win at this game. Winning is playing the game. You've won by showing up, and there's people that like don't get that. They think winning is getting like the best character, and it's like it doesn't matter. It's like wrestling. It's predetermined. It's just putting on the show is what makes it entertaining, you know?
Yeah, like you said, just for us to have fun.
Yeah, just to give us
fun.
Yeah, an hour away from, the insanity of everything going on. Anything else that you want to talk about? It's cool that you mentioned that, because there is you can just read modules. You can buy modules, and we used to do that. But I think what we do is just steal shit out of them and put it in our own quest, which is totally cool too. But like the book doesn't tell you like what you should do or what kind of quest you make. So it's really cool that you went into it not knowing that it was all like 100% just us creating.
Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, so it's cool.
So anything else? Everybody else is pretty good.
No, man. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad that I kind of, in a roundabout way through you, got to use the book I bought like a couple years ago.
Yeah, we're using the stuff that we purchased years ago.
It was fun. It definitely got me excited again for RPGs and got me to go in and look at my old boxes of RPGs, and plus all the new stuff I've got. Like I was joking earlier with the Lamentations thing, but like I've got so many like little RPGs here that Death Frost Doom, like all kinds of things. And so it's just it's got me excited to, even if it's not stuff that we play together, I'm at least reading about it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I don't know, I like that. I know like the number one thing is to play it, but I really love reading these modules and these rule sets and stuff like that. It's just something I've always liked.
Yeah, I feel like it's been like a positive experience for all of us. Or like me and Ray are totally going back into collector OCD mode of like system. Thankfully, I haven't bought too many. Like I've only spent like a couple bucks, but like it's always like when I'm reading them, I'm like, is this something that's good for the group? Because I found that wrestling one, and I was like, well, maybe later. But it's cool that we own it now, and then kind of going through. So I feel like it's been positive for like us, and especially multitude of things, you know. Jenise, do you ever find yourself like thinking about it during the week, or is it just kind of like, you know, out of mind until we play?
No, I like to, like especially with the rumors, I'm like, oh, I gotta like really like show up for this. This is like my first time like coming into this. I really gotta like
because you showed up,
put some work into it. So like I would try to make sure I had all my stuff and like get in the mindset of like, let's think of last week and like step back into it.
And I think you like recommending the Google Doc and then using the Google, like I sent the link out and then I didn't know that you could edit it instantly. And then seeing, you know, it was just like, I ran into the other room where Dana was working. I'm like, oh my God, Jenise is like filling it out. So
that was
cool.
the biggest surprise for me.
So awesome.
Like how much
she's typing.
Yeah, I could see it.
Like how much Jenise was into it. Like I remember you texted me a couple times and you were like, hey man, like no, like don't worry, you still got time, but like if you can get me your rumor or whatever. You were like, Jesus got like 5. And I'm like, holy shit. And then you like did the like doc and Jesus is like all like freaking like head first into that. So I guess when you just said if I had anything else to add, that would be the thing that I would add the most, is that I was completely and totally not to sound like this is the big brother in me, is I was completely and totally like surprised by, obviously I just said you're GMing and like how you just like flowed that whole thing together, and like it never felt to me whatsoever like you tripped up. I know you say
there's a couple times I thought I tripped up bad,
but I was just like, God damn, like he is like on it. And then like Jenise being like totally into it, like character development. And so like you just said yourself, like you felt like that first game you were like, all right, you're in the grassy patch, go talk to each other. And you're like, oh fuck, like I was like really surprised like at how well you were just like, well, I think Claire would do it. And I was like, holy shit, like she's doing exactly what. So like, yeah, I think that it went way better than I imagined it going. Not that I thought it was going to be like not fun but like it felt like all these other like times I'm at Gen Con and I see like almost like professionals doing it. Like it felt like it came together just like it should have. I was very surprised by how smooth it went and everything else. So it makes me excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I think that's what helped me out so much, is like Janice's initial excitement to like be in it fueled me even more. And then like once we started going, Ray, I could tell you got more into it
Yeah.
after we started, because I think it's like you've done this before, so you've had that whole, my expectations are not going to be met. This is going to be better in my mind than what's actually going to happen. And then once we started playing,
Right.
you were like, oh no, this is like legit, like we're playing. And
Yep.
so that helped fuel, like Jenise is pumped, so I'm getting more pumped, you're getting more pumped, I'm getting more, and then like the quests are going good. And like the only time I ever felt down was after the graveyard one. And I remember telling Dana, I was just like, it's just never the same in your mind as it is when you play. But every other time we played, it was really good. You know what I mean? And that was just me
Right.
holding myself to like a higher standard of like, I could
Yeah.
tell I fucked things up. And like the whole idea that like you guys didn't even end up in a whole different, but it was cool because it played out really well. But it was that whole, remember the expectations, like it was kind of me slipping back into that old way of DMing of like, and then they'll be in the sewer together and then they have to figure out this. And then it was just like, Ray's dice were not with you and you couldn't get away. And so you fought the guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this whole other thing happened, you know, and that was like the only time I had felt down. And then every other
But
game
that's cool though, because it's
was
like,
better.
oh, instead of like not running away and being able to, I just said, fuck it.
Yeah.
like what would I do in that situation? And obviously I'm a 43-year-old man trying to think of like what a teenager would do, but it's like, I mean, goddamn, if you like, you're either gonna run away or you're gonna try to fight gonna try to fight your way through it. I mean, I can't just sit there and fucking die or you know, whatever. So
no, that's cool.
that
And
was
then
fun.
and
then there was the one night where my air conditioning was fucked up and I was super tired. And
that was the graveyard night. That was the same night.
Yeah, and I was getting irritated. I was because you were like, "But what are you going to do?" Whatever. And I was like, "Well, what are you asking me?"
Yeah,
I was like,
I was asking you a meta question about the wraith, the guy that was chasing you.
Right.
So there's a character, for people that know, that was emitting a fear.
And I'm like, I feel like there's something I should be saying here. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying.
Yeah.
And
I think that was the only
not going.
point.
It was just not going like particular well that night.
But I think that me and you both needed to learn from that night that that's not every night, and like it wasn't like, well, might as well stop doing it. We had one like kind of like rough.
Well, fuck this shit. Let's go back to Yahtzee.
Yeah. What was that, Jenise?
Oh, I just was laughing at the Yahtzee
thinking
of closing.
Yeah, bye.
That's what I felt like. I didn't feel like that on the graveyard night. Like I said, like I don't like it. Just all seems like smooth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that so much like prep from you was done, and like that you're actually like playing in this story with us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the graveyard scene and stuff didn't feel like that to me. I think the most that was like, oh gosh, I was so off my game was the beginning when that's when I felt like, oh.
That's so funny because you felt off in the beginning. I felt rocky because it was like, okay, I haven't done this, now let's start. But we got into it, and me and Ray were both off on the graveyard night, and then we got the day after was really good, and then the finale was really fun.
Yeah.
There is some pressure kind of going into the season 2. I think what I'm gonna do too is have you guys. I think what would be really fun is to have you guys create like 1 or 2 more rumors about what the town would be thinking, because like you guys know what happened, nobody else knows. So I think it'd be really cool to almost we're not restarting from the beginning, but be like, okay, now that the dust is settled, what are 2 things that the town has created of what happened, or rumors, and you know what I mean, and have you guys kind of feed me those, because and then I can help like bounce that off and then like create, because I have a good starting point. I just want to start filling it with some more stuff, and I feel like that's a cool way to like refresh the game. And if you want to like switch a skill or 2, like at least 1 skill around where you're just like, dude, I was like falling all over myself, I need a better flight skill, you know what I mean, and then switch something, or do something like that. That's totally cool. We can talk about it in like the introduction session to the game again, and just be like, you know, tell me your rumors, you know, this is where the game starts, and then kind of bring you guys back in.
Right.
I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for future of this is definitely something we're all into. Season 2 is going to be about the same length as season 1, about 5 weeks. I'm hoping to get that going. Probably mid-August. You guys pretty much good. Like as summer kind of winds down.
Yeah.
It's not like
Oh,
we're
yeah.
doing,
I'm
but
in.
like just I don't want to take too much time off and have us like lose the momentum that we've worked so hard for.
Yeah.
You know.
Forget the first part of the story.
And then after that, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna start working on Kids on Brooms just because that's fun to me. And maybe something else I discover because I'm still trying to find like I feel like Kids on Bike was like that lightning in a bottle, and I don't want to jump into another game that doesn't feel that way for me. You know what I mean? That this is like a good fit for us. This is gonna make us all happy and super creative. One thing I would say, kind of tangenty, one of the reasons why I got out of role playing is I felt like I was creating too many quests for like other people, and I was like, screw that, I'm just gonna create stories for my own comics and do stuff, which is cool. But now I feel like the opposite. Like I feel like no, I want to start creating more of these type of quests because they're like rough drafts for other things. You know what I mean? It's cool to kind of have like a different creative outlet. Where before I was like, no, I want to make my own comics. I don't want to worry about vampire quests anymore. I'm gonna take all that stuff. I mean, now I'm like kind of the opposite. Like it's like a sketchbook. Like no, I can make like cool little story ideas and see what happens. You know. So it's been super fun for me to like make these things. It never felt like work. I never felt like, oh, I gotta do a quest tonight. Hang on, let me find a map. You know what I mean?
That's good.
And that's probably why when the graveyard kind of was like a little bit blank, because it was like first session was good, the next session was great, and then it was like this one's gonna kick ass. And it was like,
Yeah.
meh. And I was like, oh fuck, dude. Yeah. So, but you live, you learn.
That map was fucking dope, though.
I spent
Like,
too much time on the
was
map.
So
That's the
awesome.
problem.
Yeah, both of them.
I felt
really
so
good.
bad because I was like, that map was like ripping it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I could.
Well,
tell
the good
this
thing is
just
that it exists, and I don't want to have you guys be in the same areas, but maybe the graveyard might come back at some.
Oh, we'll forget about it. You could throw that shit up next week.
This wasn't like it was bad. Like I act like it was like the worst thing ever. It was literally just like two things. But it was just crazy because like the things that I was disappointed with, the funnest shit was that you fought that guy. Like other stuff came out really cool. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
You know, there's nothing. I'm not like beating myself up about it. It was different. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're ever going to record our sessions for public consumption, at least at this point. If people would like us to, like maybe one-offs or something like that, actually like record something. I don't know if we're at that level where we want to be like, you know, knowing that we're recording. But I like doing this. I like doing these recaps, and maybe like I might splice in a couple quick clips from our first playthrough, but that wasn't recorded for other people. What's that?
Yep. Oh no, we said yeah.
Okay. Jenise, I recorded it on the sly, so
yeah,
I never.
That's okay.
It was never meant to be to humiliate people, and it was just kind of like you said, like when we first started talking, this is like a really big moment. I'm so happy to do this with you guys. Like it's awesome. Like I'm so proud that I'm like, I guess proud is like, I don't know, is proud the right word, but I'm just pumped.
I remember I went to say something and I don't want to fuck up the recording, and I was like, "Are you recording this or not?" I was like, and you were like, no. I was like, "Ah, yes."
Yeah. No, but like it's just one of those moments in life where I'm just like, this is fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is
Every
awesome.
shitty thing that's going on, like this is really cool to do this with you guys, and I love it. I get to share this with my siblings, and
this is
you know,
awesome.
as much
But
as
speaking of every shitty thing going on, I'm sorry guys that I went dark mode on you the last week.
I thought you were out of town that week.
Like mom was like texting me talking about like, oh, Travis is like wondering what's going on. Jenise can't get a hold of you, and I'm like, dude, I've got like 3 different classes going on right. Like I had a lot going on, and plus, you might, I don't know if you'll end up. You can keep it in. I don't care if you do. But if you feel like it, splice it out. But it's like late July, and I've been dealing with this since March, and I haven't had like a whole lot of time myself to like take a minute to digest. It's literally been like I saw this butterfly flapping its wings in January, slowly coming in February. It's here in March. Nobody's paying attention. All of a sudden, pow! It's here. Deal with it. Come up with policies. Everything else. Like parents calling me, like everybody calling me, friends calling me. What do we do? What do we do? And I never took a minute in COVID-19 to like breathe and go, God damn it. And plus on top of that, it's like I spent my whole time in March, April, and most of May like getting myself acclimated to the fact that this is going to last for a long time. And then all of a sudden it seemed like, oh, everything's going to open up. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then it's not. And so I'm like back to square one. So
Right.
Yeah.
I've just been like not 100% in the right frame of mind in the last
No, we
like
totally get, I get
week,
that.
2 weeks. So
Yeah.
that's like, so no offense to you guys, not like I wanted to respond back, but I just like honest to God, I completely missed some of your texts. I had to I had reminders that were like, hey, pay your bills, motherfucker. Like all kinds of shit that like I don't normally forget, like all happened in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, God damn, what the fuck is like, get back in the game. Like, wake up. You're fine.
You know, it's good to take that time off. I was worried because I wasn't worried because I just assumed that you went on vacation or something like that.
Yeah.
It was weird that like our like gaming thread, like you didn't say anything, and then I texted you something too. It was just like all this like normal stuff like happened. Like, oh, I dropped all these games into a folder for you.
Oh yes,
we're doing this, we're doing that.
I figured that's what it was when you dropped the like gave me like you're like Travis wants to collaborate on a folder for RPGs, and I didn't like do like say something right away.
I think that's important for everybody even listening. Like even us playing this game, like hiding in certain things is good. Like I'm going to put all creative energy into my stuff and into this game because it's positive for all of us. But we're all going to get to a point where we need like a mental health break where we just shut down and you know what I mean? And you need to take that time off. So that's 100% fine. Like Dana is kind of in the same boat today because like when we went to Charlevoix, it wasn't a great, it was fun seeing our friends, but it wasn't a relaxing experience. It was like that whole idea of like, this isn't going away anytime soon. You know, you're seeing families walk around with masks on.
Yeah.
Everybody has masks on. So it's just like, you never feel like you're 100% relaxed. So it's just like, and just that whole realization that like, we're almost just starting this.
Yeah.
And we've been in it for that long. So I think that like,
yeah, that's what it's like for me, because like the beginning I was like, this is going to be so sick. But in the beginning I was like kind of almost like jacked up. I'm like, this is like all my fucking trainings for like this is what I'm waiting for. Like the big event that comes down. And then all of a sudden it's like 4 months into it. It's like, this is bullshit. Nobody fucking listens. Everybody's an expert. Like everything I'm saying is falling on deaf ears.
You have to listen to science. And facts.
Yes, this is the science. This is the facts. Deal with it.
Yeah, I had the same thing that you did, where there was like a weekend. It was like in between our play sessions where I didn't do shit, where I just like shut down because I was just like, I'm so exhausted because it was just like adrenaline junkie working on projects and then burned out. Like just burned like completely.
Like glow stick.
From what's his name? Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry Crews. I just saw that. There was a dancing. Yeah, and then literally like Friday through Sunday, I was just like, I don't want to do anything, and we just like played games, hung out. It's like where you need to like recharge, and that's cool. Like us doing this. If you guys hit that moment, just say, hey, I'm off grid. I need to just fucking chill. Like we're fine. We're not. Nothing's bad's gonna happen.
That's a good point.
I need to just be off.
I'm glad that you bring that point up, because there were, I think it was only like 2 times. One of the nights was the night I was getting aggravated, but I think that there was like a part of me that, not the whole like I don't want to say it this way because it's gonna sound like it was a bad thing, but like, not the whole entire time that we're playing this, but like I treat this seriously, almost like my job.
Yeah.
So like my job is to like tomorrow, I have to show up at 8:00 in the morning to teach hazmat class. So when we have plans, you know, like say Thursday night at 8:30 to 9:00 to meet and record, like I take that seriously. I'm like, yeah, between 8:30 and 9:00. And there were 1 or 2 times during that 6 to 7 weeks where it was just that night. It just was not kind of gelling very good.
Mm-hmm.
But I forced it because I was like, no, I told Jenise and Travis I can record Wednesday night, and so I'm gonna record. And then that session may not have gone so well because instead of me being like all like fully awake, all my faculties there and everything, I was all like beat down, tired and everything. And I'm like, okay, let's like do this. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, what's Max doing now? What's going on? Like what did we do last week? Like not even knowing what we did the week before kind of thing. And just like getting through it.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they may have like eventually been like really good sessions, at least in the beginning it was like
took us slow,
like almost like a chore, because I was like, god dang it. Like,
did that ever happen to you, Jenise?
like,
you had to kind of like
just that one day that it was
there was
just
only
like,
one time for me.
And I like texted you like, can we meet another day? Because I wanted to
I should have done that.
be in it, but I'm like, I can't even like get in there.
The graveyard night for me, that was the only night. There was only one night that was like that for me, and that was the night that I got pissed. And like had to like literally text you the next day and be like, sorry, I didn't mean to be like a dick.
Fine. Oh, don't worry about it. Because I could tell there were certain nights. There was a night that I was off, but I ended up getting really into it later.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's cool that when we start now, we kind of chit chat for a little bit, then we start playing.
Yeah.
Because then it kind of like you forget about, it's like doing like a warm up. And then Jenise, when you canceled, it was good because I was not into it. And that gave me extra time to like make it stuff better. So I was like, no, that's cool. Like, and plus during all this, if you guys need to just take a night, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, because we're usually open like 2 nights a week. It's usually like, for me, it's always like Monday's easier to record because it's like at the beginning of the week. There's less stuff is going to happen, like build up. So, but no, that's cool. It's cool to like wrap up. And I think that mental health right now, like we're doing this for enjoyment, to hang out with each other, and for a mental health break of just like getting away. But like even doing this, you need time off. You know what I mean? I think that's why these next couple of weeks will be good to just take everyone time and kind of miss it a little bit and then kind of jump back into it.
No, that's where the whole dark mode thing came from, because it was like nothing against like, but there was like just like 3, maybe 4 days where I did the same thing. I went to work, I came home and did what I was supposed to do at home, but like I didn't go on like Facebook. I didn't do fucking anything because I was just like, I had like no capacity to deal with anything. And all of a sudden it was like, I go back and look and it was like, oh shit, Trav's like collaborating on like an RPG folder with me, and like all this shit happened, and like mom texted me, and then I called mom the other day and she was like, yeah, Travis and Jenise were like wondering what the fuck going on with you, and I'm like, nothing. I'm like, I just got real busy and it was just bad timing. Like,
well, and when we talk to each other constantly,
I think that was more of a problem than anything. It was like we went like all this time, it was like we're constantly talking to each other, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, Ray fell off the grid for like a week. What's going on?
Well, speaking of our parents, mom is, I don't know if she's got the stuff yet, but she's all pumped to make dice.
I know, she told me that.
Yeah, which is
like, I'm gonna make resin dice.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's awesome, but it's like weird, like coming like full circle. Like,
where were you 20
years full ago? Circle.
Yeah, we're coming back to do stuff that we did when we were kids. Mom's making dice now.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. When she makes a set, we'll have to get them on the show.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? Well,
nope, I'm good.
We'll just do like the quick show wrap up. Follow us on social media. Do all the things. Like and subscribe. If you
at Real Ray Bramble on Twitter.
Oh, nice. What do that again so I don't talk over you?
It's at Real Ray Bramble on Twitter.
So Jenise, do you want to plug anything? Or you just
I don't think I have any of those.
That's okay. Well, you're on this now. So.
Yeah.
But Scattercast is Instagram. We're gonna start filling that up. soon with some show things that we're working on. Mainly just like the show. If this is the stuff you're into, definitely like and subscribe to the show. If this has encouraged you to like start a game with your family, let us know. That'd be cool to hear.
Yeah,
like
for real. I want to hear that for real.
Game. We've definitely been focusing a lot on RPGs and trading cards lately. It's definitely something that's hot with us. So we're just going to continue that. August, when this comes out, is the month of Gen Con, kind of. So we're going to have a lot of booing because Gen Con's canceled.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to focus a lot of Gen Con content. So this is kind of the kickoff, sort of the light kickoff to that. And I think I'm going to post.
There's supposed to be some virtual Gen Con too, so I'll try to find out about that. And maybe we could do something in conjunction with them. So
yeah,
I'm glad that we've been able to keep sane and carry some shit on while this is going on, because everybody, like, okay, I don't want to get all dark, but everybody and their brother thought this was going to be like a couple months, like, oh yeah, whatever. And then now we're learning very quickly in late July, like, oh, hey, shit. Yeah, this is probably something's going to stick around for a little bit longer. So this is going to be something that they're going to write history books about. So I'm glad that we've been able to find a way to keep saying, keep together, talk together,
have fun,
stuff like that.
Yeah, like living through a history-changing event sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm really sorry that you guys had trouble getting hold of me, but like I just kind of broke down.
No,
dude, broke down over last month.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I've been trying to be like the voice. We're like, oh, we're good.
Yeah.
I've been trying to be that voice of reason, and finally it just like all caught up in the last like week or two. I'm like, God damn it,
think of yourself.
This isn't fucking ending anytime soon.
Yeah,
like,
and that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
that's fine.
You won't let us down.
Yeah,
if you
don't
don't
apologize.
Yeah,
don't apologize for having mental health time.
Like I went against my own thinking, because like in the beginning, like me and you, Travis, talking about like back in like March, April, when we were talking about like, oh yeah, it's hard to be excited about anything when there's no thought of tomorrow. Like that's like what I thought about back then. Then all this stuff started happening, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I did call it wrong. Maybe I did like jump to conclusions, and so things are going to get better. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, it's getting fucking worse. Overnight. I was right all along. So that was kind of like where I was the last like week or two, like when all of a sudden it was like, oh boom, we're like leading the world in cases and everything else. So I know. Yeah, it sucks. It just sucks.
No, and you need to do that. You need to take that time. And Jenise, same for you. If you do, just you need to. You know what I mean?
Yep.
As to you too.
Thanks. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
It all takes a lot.
Love you guys.
Love you. Have a safe trip. Have fun.
Yep.
All right. So I'll edit this.
Sorry, I gave you a fucking job tonight, didn't I?
I'm not working on it tonight.
But no, I don't mean doing it tonight. I meant
I know what
this podcast.
Oh, tonight.
So I'll go the persuasion route to see what happens.
Okay. All right. So you see Miss
Hold on. We're not. Is this being recorded? Are you recording this?
No.
Okay. It doesn't matter if you are. Amber just walked in. Me, Travis, and Jenise are playing our Games on Bikes game.